Welcome to another episode about the Faerie and Folklore artists and illustrators. And in this episode, we are going to be looking at the life, what I can find out about it, and the art of Charles Robinson. Here we are again looking at a Faerie and Folklore artist illustrator, this time the life and art of Charles Robinson. He was a British illustrator who was most prolific, and yet despite the huge amount of work he created, hardly anything is known about his life. And I guess that is commonly the way of things in illustration. During the golden age of illustration, it was just a job. For some, literally just a job, no matter how brilliant their artistic skills. They were contracted, fulfilled the work needed, and went on to the next art gig. When we look at the hundreds of thousands of older book covers, internal illustrations, posters, advertising illustrations, all of these things and more, an artist illustrator did these works. But how many of us know a huge amount of the names of these commercial artists? So how many life stories faded away with the passing of time, as well as the images, just taken for granted? And this will be my dilemma with this series, because for some artists there is a wealth of information, and yet for many others, virtually nothing. And sadly, Charles Robinson falls into the latter category. So what do we know about him? He was born in October 1870 in the borough of Islington in London, UK. He was from an extended family of artists. He was the son of the artist Thomas Robinson and had two brothers who also became artists, and these were the more famous Thomas Heath Robinson, who was a very popular book and magazine illustrator, and much more famous William Heath Robinson, known for the extraordinary, impossible contraptions and peculiar illustrations. Charles's work, though, was far more gentle and softer and filled with fairies. In 1897, Charles married Edith Mary Favart in Middlesex, and this very happy union produced 6 children, 4 daughters and 2 sons. As I have said, Charles was a prolific illustrator, which is not surprising really with such a large family, and he took on an apprenticeship as a printer during the day. As evenings drew in, he would take art classes to improve his illustrative talents. In 1892, Charles won a much sought-after place at the Royal Academy of Arts. His work was that good, but sadly he just could not afford to attend this prestigious academy. He had to refuse the place offered and continued his financial juggling act. How familiar is that to an artist illustrator? In 1896, he was commissioned to create artwork for Robert Louis Stevenson's A Child's Garden of Verses, his first role as the sole illustrator of a project. And for this book he would go on to produce more than 100 pen and ink illustrations. This book proved to be extremely popular, heading through many reprints over the years, and from this one book alone he gained much more commission work. He illustrated books of some of the world's most famous fairy stories over his career, and along with his friend and colleague Walter Copeland Gerald, he wrote and created artworks for so many of their own book projects. As well as illustrating books, Charles Robinson was also a traditional painter, especially as he grew older. In 1932, he was elected to the Royal Institute of Painters in Watercolour, a wonderful accolade for his art. And in 1937, sadly, Charles Robinson passed away. His entire career as a professional illustrator spanned between 1895 to 1932, and his work graced the covers and internal pages of over 100 books for children, a fantastic legacy of delight and wonder. You know, I couldn't find anything else about Charles Robinson, which is a real shame. However, if you know more, please let me know in the comments, or where I can find out more. What a beautiful gift of art he left us. I enjoyed looking for more artwork for this episode, and because it's so short, I couldn't add any more. So I really would encourage you to look up its art and find more works by this fabulous illustrator, because there is a lot out there. I just didn't have the text to fit the images in. However, please do enjoy the work of Charles Robinson. He was absolutely fantastic. Thank you so much, Charles Robinson.